Autumn always feels like a memory you can walk through. The air smells of change, crisp, sweet, and a little sad. Momma says every leaf that falls carries a story, and maybe, if you listen closely, you can still hear love whispering through the trees. This is our story of quiet mornings, soft goodbyes, and love that never really leaves. The air smells different now, softer somehow, but deeper too. It carries the faint sweetness of apples and the sharp whisper of fallen leaves. Every morning when I step out onto the porch beside Momma, I can feel it wrapping around us, autumn curling its golden fingers through the trees and into our hearts. Momma stands quietly in her flannel shirt, hands around her mug, eyes on the woods behind the house. The steam rises into the cold, and I watch her face, the way the corners of her mouth lift just barely, like she's smiling at a memory. Indy stretches and lets out a groan beside me, while Hunter noses the damp ground, always searching for the day's first scent. We've traded the hum of road trips for the hush of Pennsylvania mornings. The van rests beside the house now, covered in a thin blanket of pine needles and a story's worth of dust. Its tires are tired too, like us, ready for rest. Momma says we'll stay here for the winter this time. No road trip, my loves, she told us a few days ago, kneeling on the porch to scratch behind my ears. Just us, the woods, and the quiet. But I know there's more to it than quiet. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at the horizon longer than usual, her thumb brushing over the silver band she still wears on her left hand. She misses him, the one she calls Daddy. We never met him, but we know him like a scent on the wind. Momma tells a story sometimes, usually when the fire burns low and the world feels small and safe. Her voice softens when she speaks his name, like it belongs to another time, a time before our paws touch this world. He loved dogs, especially Chesapeakes, she told us once, her fingers tracing my fur as if remembering something older than me. He said, they had souls that mirrored his own, strong, loyal, stubborn in all the right ways. Then she laughed, but it was a quiet laugh, the kind that hides something heavy behind it. I remember that night because I curled closer to her leg, feeling her heartbeat through her jeans, steady but sad. That's when I started listening for him, in the sound of the wind brushing the leaves, and the creak of the porch boards, and the low hum of Momma's breath as she drifted off to sleep. The days between warm and cold are the quietest of all. The air holds its breath, not quite ready to surrender summer, not quite strong enough to be winter. It's in that hush between seasons that Momma seems to drift most often into her memories. She doesn't speak much at first, just hums sometimes, little pieces of songs that sound older than I can imagine. We sit on the porch steps, her boots tapping against the wood, my head resting on her knee. The world feels still, except for the soft chatter of squirrels and the distant cry of a crow. One afternoon, as the sun leans low and the sky blushes pink, she finally begins to talk. Your daddy's first Chesapeake was named Gunner. He was the one who taught me what loyalty really meant. I tilt my head. The name sounds strong, like river stones and thunder. Momma smiles faintly, lost in the picture forming behind her eyes. Gunner was stubborn. He chewed everything, barked at shadows, and refused to come when called unless it suited him. But your daddy loved him anyway. Said that kind of spirit was a gift, not a flaw. Her hand moves absently through my fur. When Gunner passed, your daddy cried for days. I remember thinking how rare it was for a man like him to cry. But he said, when a dog like that loves you, you never forget it. The breeze picks up, stirring the leaves across the yard. They swirl in circles, gold and russet and brown, and for a moment I feel something move through them, something almost alive. Momma watches quietly again. She used to say love is a lot like fall, she murmurs. Beautiful and painful, all at once. Her words sink into me, the way the cold seeps into the ground. Slow, steady, unforgettable. The next few days bring more chill. Frost thickens on the windows, and our breaths turn visible in the morning air. Momma lights the fireplace before breakfast, and we gather around it, our bodies close enough to feel each other's warmth. Hunter lies nearest the flames, his dark brown coat shining in the glow. Indy sprawls beside him, his lighter fur blending with the old woven rug. I take my place beside Momma's chair, listening to the quiet pop and crackle of burning wood. Momma flips through another photo album, this one filled with camping trips, the kind she tells us Daddy loved most. The photos smell faintly of pine and thyme. That was the old camper, she says, pointing to a small white trailer parked beside a lake. We'd take it up north every fall. He said it was his favorite season, that the air tasted honest then. Her eyes glisten, and she closes the album gently, holding it against her chest. I shift closer, pressing my muzzle to her arm. She smiles down at me, her thumb tracing the ridge of my nose. You know, she says softly, he would have loved you most, Emmi. You're a lot like him. You watch the world before stepping into it. He was like that too. Quiet but deep. I don't understand all her words, but I feel the meaning in the way she says them. The warmth of her voice, the softness of her touch. They tell me that love is a language that doesn't always need words. Outside, the woods grow bare with each passing day. The oaks stand stripped, their branches black against the dull sky. The creek that runs along the back of the property slows to a whisper. Momma walks there alone, her boots crunching on frozen leaves. I follow at a distance, giving her space the way Hunter does when he senses her thoughts are heavy. Once, I see her stop by the big oak with the carved initials, M and D. She kneels and brushes away the leaves, tracing the carving with her fingertips. 15 years, she whispers. You'd laugh if you saw me now, me and my pack of muddy dogs. Her voice trembles between laughter and tears. I want to go to her, to nuzzle her hand, but I stay where I am. Some moments belong to silence, the kind that holds memory instead of sound. When she finally turns to head home, her eyes are red, but her smile is real. That night, she tells us more stories by the fire, about how Daddy taught her to drive their old boat through Chesapeake Bay at sunrise, how he'd whistle and every duck in the marsh seemed to listen. He said dogs are the bridge between people and heaven, she says, resting her head back on the chair. I didn't understand it then, but I think I do now. Indy thumps his tail, Hunter sighs, curling tighter. I rest my chin on her lap again. She looks down at me, smiling through tired eyes. You're all pieces of him, she says softly. Every wag, every muddy paw print. It's like he's still here. I blink up at her, and she laughs quietly. See, even that look. He used to give me that same look. Thought I could read his mind. Her laughter trails into silence, but it's a warm kind this time. The kind that doesn't ache quite as much. Outside, the wind hums through the trees, carrying the faint rustle of leaves. I close my eyes and listen, and for a heartbeat, it feels like the world itself is remembering with her. By late November, the woods behind our house look like a painting that's almost been erased. Only a few copper leaves cling to the trees, trembling in the cold wind. The air smells of rain and wood smoke, and the light lingers low, turning everything to gold for just a moment before it fades. Momma spends more time outside now. Even when the air bites, she pulls on her old coat and wool hat and walks among the bare trees. We follow, always a few steps behind, quiet, letting her have her thoughts. Hunter moves steady and proud, his coat dark against the pale ground. Indy bounds ahead sometimes, chasing scents, his tail high. I stay close to Momma. I've learned that she doesn't always need to talk. Sometimes she just needs to be listened to. One afternoon, she stops by the old stone fence at the edge of the property. The fields beyond are brown and sleeping. She places her hand on the rough stone, her gaze lost somewhere far away. "This was his favorite spot," she says softly. "He used to say the world looked honest from here. No walls, no noise, just sky and field." The wind brushes her hair across her face. I step closer and lean against her leg, feeling the tremor in her sigh. "I wish you could have met him. He would have loved how you tilt your head like that, Emmi. He used to say a dog's eyes hold more truth than words ever could." She kneels then, her knees sinking into the cold grass. Her hand cups my face gently, and her eyes meet mine. "I see him in you. You know that every day." I press my nose against her cheek, and she laughs, that quiet kind of laugh that sounds almost like crying. That night, the first snow falls. It comes softly, silently, dusting the porch and covering the van in white. Momma lights a candle on the windowsill and sits with us in the glow. The house is quiet, except for the crackle of the fire and the slow rhythm of her breathing. She looks at the flame for a long time before she speaks. "I used to think grief was something you healed from, but I think now it just becomes part of you. Like the seasons. It changes, but it never leaves." Her hand moves from Hunter's back to Indy's to mine. But love changes too. It doesn't fade. It just finds new ways to stay. Outside, the snow keeps falling, and the world grows still. The next morning, the world is white and hushed. Momma opens the door and cold air rushes in, crisp and bright. We bound out, paws sinking into fresh powder. Hunter gallops through it like a puppy. Indy barks at the wind, and I tilt my nose to the sky, catching snowflakes on my fur. Momma laughs. A real laugh this time, full and bright and alive. She stands on the porch, cheeks pink from the cold, eyes shining. For a moment, I see something lift from her, the heaviness she's carried since those autumn days. It's still there, but lighter now, shaped more by gratitude than grief. She looks at the three of us, our tails wagging, our faces dusted with snow, and her smile softens. "You're my home," she says simply. The wind stirs again, sweeping through the pines, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and memory. I hear the soft creak of the porch boards as she steps down to join us. Her boots crunch through the snow as she kneels and wraps her arms around all three of us at once. We stay like that, the four of us, wrapped in the sound of the wind and the hush of the falling snow. And in that stillness, I understand something without needing words. Love doesn't end. It lingers. In the wag of a tail, in the warmth of a hand, and the way the world glows when the light catches just right. Momma carries his love in her heart. We carry hers in ours. And together, we carry him, not as a ghost, but as a memory that has become home. That night, when she tucks the blanket around her shoulders and we settle by the fire again, she looks out the window at the white world and whispers, "Good night, my love." Her voice is soft, but sure. I rest my head on her lap. Hunter sighs beside the hearth, and Indy stretches with a contented groan. The fire hums low, and outside, the wind moves through the trees like a gentle breath. And though I never met him, I think I understand him now. The man who loved Momma, who loved dogs, who taught her what love looks like when it keeps on living. The house creaks, the snow falls, and the world sleeps.
And I close my eyes knowing that even in the quietest season, love still whispers.